Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's live stream. If it's your first time here, my name is Ivy Prosper, and I tell stories from Africa and the African diaspora. And today, I'm really excited about this live stream because we are going to be diving into a interesting conversation that answers questions that many people looking to do business in the African continent are concerned about. So I want to welcome you all, no matter where you are in the world, as well as those of you who may be watching this as a replay. Thank you for watching. So as I said, I'm diving into a powerful conversation. This is going to be about the rise of Africa talent and how businesses around the world can tap into one of the most dynamic and creative and skilled workforces on the planet. The African continent has the youngest population, and globally, it's said that there's more than 60% of the population in Africa that are under the age of 25. And it's important for us to acknowledge this because that means there is a large pool of talent. There's over 400 million people between the ages of 15 to 35 in the African continent. And it's been projected that by 2050, that population of Africa will be 2.5 billion, with a large portion of that being people under the age of 25. So today, my guest is Sydney Sam. He is the co-founder of Workspace Global, a company that's changing the game when it comes to remote hiring and global team building. Workspace Global connects businesses with top-tier African professionals in areas like design, tech, marketing, and more. If you're a business owner that's looking to scale up with quality talent, or a creative professional on the continent of Africa looking for global opportunities, this is the conversation that you don't want to miss. So I want to jump into the conversation today and introduce my guest, Sydney Sam, who is joining us live for today's conversation. Welcome, Sydney.
Hey, Ivy. I'm very excited to be here. This has been a long time coming. We've kind of connected in different spaces in our lives, and I'm really happy that finally we get to sit together and have a chat. So I'm just really, really honored to be in your space.
I'm excited to have you here as well. And for those of you watching, please make sure if you have any questions or comments that you put them in the comment section so that we can address them as we are going along in this conversation. Share with us exactly where you're watching us in the world. I'm joining you from Ghana, and Sydney is currently in the UK. So I would love to hear from all of you who are watching where you're from. Just put it in the comment section. And then I'm going to get Sydney to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about who he is and what he does. So let us know who you are.
Okay, sounds good. So Sydney is a 32-year-old Ghanaian man. I'm married, so I've been married for 5 years, and I have a 2-year-old son. Sydney has spent 14 years in the entrepreneurship space, so I've been doing this for a minute. I've built 3 to 4 ventures. The first one being a stand-up comedy, spoken word, and live music show that I did back in the university called Moonlight Cafe. That birthed some of the biggest names that we know, like Kiddy and Mr. Easy, came from that platform back then. I've built a few other things, but primarily what most people know me for is my work in marketing, as I have been the marketing director for brands like ALX Africa, San Technologies, and a few other companies around the world. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I speak and I coach. I'm very passionate about the fact that the entrepreneurs are the people that are going to change the world, and the creative talent in Africa is going to be the powerful engine that is going to do that. So everything I do, everything I say, all the spaces that I play in, push that agenda of global entrepreneurship and African creatives and African digital talent supporting the globe. So that's a little bit about me. I hope I answered that question well.
Thank you. I'm just going to go quickly to the comments. Fred has joined us saying, hello, Ivy. Thank you so much for joining us today, Fred. We have Fluffy Puff _ ZA. Greetings from South Africa. Thank you for joining us. We have Frank Mensa joining from Adubia and Associates, Diaspora Business Community. Thank you for so much for joining. We have Bame. Greetings from Botswana. Thank you for joining us today. Appreciate you. As I said, if you are joining us anywhere in the world, do share where you are and keep your comments and questions coming so that we can address them as we go along. Now, Sydney, you have told us a little bit about who you are. I want to know, what exactly does Workspace Global do? I gave a quick brief, but you can get into a little bit of detail on exactly what you do.
Okay. So I will start there, and then I will talk about the context to the problem. So Workspace Global is a platform that connects businesses around the world to top supervised design teams and marketing teams in Africa on subscription. So it's a very interesting concept where most people know that if you want to make money, you need marketing. If you need to do marketing, you need creative production and design, right? You need websites, you need graphic designers, you need video editors, etc., etc. Now, the way most people will access that today is that they would go and work with a traditional agency, right, which can cost a fair bit of money, especially if you're a small business. Or they might work with freelancers or somebody from their church who does, websites, et cetera, et cetera. But with the freelance market as well, especially in the US and the UK, it's a little unpredictable. You don't really know what you're getting until you work with these people. So we realize that people want the stability and flexibility of working with an agency, but then the cost and also the flexibility of working with freelancers, but there isn't a solution that does both in a way that people really appreciate as a small business. So we figured out everybody knows how to use Netflix. Everybody knows how to just click a button and subscribe and get access to a range of things or services, whether it's movies or videos or music. And people need to know how to turn that off, right? So we were thinking, how do we package all these services and people and talent in an unlimited way that people can access as simple as they do Netflix? And that is what we built in Workspace Global. The beautiful thing about Workspace is that all the teams are managed and supervised for you. So it makes it really easy for most people to just subscribe, ask for whatever they want. They don't have to worry about hiring. They don't have to worry about managing the talent. They don't have to worry about salaries, taxes, all of those things. It's just a simple subscription like your Netflix, and you turn it off when you don't need it. So the main thing is dealing with the risk, because people out around the world want to work with Africans, but there's a lot of risk associated with it, right? We don't know about the cultural nuances and stuff like that. And so this platform makes it very easy for anybody around the world to work with African talent without worrying about some of the risks that they may face. So that's a little bit about Workspace Global. Yeah.
And what exactly inspired you to come up with this concept?
So it goes back to the first business that I spoke about, Moonlight Cafe. The first thing was I was an entrepreneur, but I didn't know much. And especially you're in the entertainment space, so you would know how sometimes running events don't necessarily, so we were doing these concerts all across Ghana, but then the revenue from these concerts were not enough to sustain the business, right? So you definitely need sponsors to be able to supplement what you're doing, right? Now, sponsors required us to show up a certain way with a certain kind of presentation or deck or a website. And that was something we just couldn't figure out. We didn't know who could help us. The people who could help us were students. They didn't know much. And so over time, that business died, right? Because we kept running out of cash. Now, I became obsessed with that problem and was like, no other entrepreneur should ever go through this, this issue of not knowing where to find talent or a team to support them, especially a team that you can afford. So I jumped also into the freelance space as a freelance graphic designer as well, to understand a little bit more about design. Now, what I also realized is that most people think the freelance space. It's this glamorous space where people can just work from cafes, etc., etc. But it's very hard. You have to find customers, you have to project manage, you have to manage customer relationships and things like that, which is not something that most African freelancers are trained to do. So most African freelancers can do the coding and can do the designing, but the idea of networking and all of that stuff is a bit of a problem, right? So I thought about the two issues: entrepreneurs and small businesses not knowing where to find teams and getting teams in the way that they needed, and African freelancers or creatives. Let's not call them freelancers because I want to call them creative talent, being able to find consistent, flexible, remote income. And just by doing their work, because not most people don't necessarily want to get a job, but they do want to have consistent income. So I decided to put that together and use AI and technology to be able to build that with an amazing team, and that's what has led to where we are today. So that gives a bit of backstory, especially because working as an agency or a marketing company in Africa can have its challenges. It has issues with, there's so many things that make it very difficult, especially when you reach a certain threshold and you're working with your biggest clients is the government or big corporations, and it becomes a very different ball game, and you stop supporting small businesses in the long run, right? So that also really inspired me to say, hey, I could still make $1 million working with the people that I actually care about, and that also comes through that. So yeah.
Okay. So we also have more people joining us. We have Newman, who's tuned in from Botswana.
Nice.
We have Evelyn Ajapong, who's joining from Ghana, was a UK native for 37 years before that. Wow.
Okay.
That's great. Great transition to Ghana. Thank you. So you've explained a little bit about what you do and what inspired you. Now, you have, I've read that it's been described as, your partner in building global teams in the continent of Africa. What do you define as your mission, like your overall mission with this long term?
Right. Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Primarily, we live in a world where a large percentage of businesses will fail. A lot of us we know that the path, I'm very big on freedom as a person, and to be able to do that, you will need to set up a business. But most people will fail at business because there's a lot of things, a lot of resources that they do not have access to. So we're on a mission to support 100,000 businesses and more by 2030, to be able to show up properly, which is the one key thing. You'd be surprised at how much your brand and your marketing do probably 50% of the work. It's not really about where you're situated or your personal experience, but if you're not able to communicate that properly to your customers, your investors, and potential customers, you will fail. So I wanted to, we came together to remove the gap between businesses and being able to show up properly globally. Now, on the flip side, we also realize that Africa has a huge unemployment and underemployment issue. And with how quickly the continent is growing, we need big platforms to be able to solve this unemployment problem at a certain scale, right? So we have decided that we're aiming to hire 25,000 Africans by 2030, and we're going to push that number as high as we can go in the following years, giving people, again, consistent, flexible, remote work to do that they can do from anywhere in the world. Whether you're pregnant, whether you're a student, whatever that is, every African who has creative skills should be able to get work done. So that's the idea, and that's the big mission behind it. And then also just to change the narrative about Africa, because we know we're the next frontier. We want people to be able to access African talent without all the stigma and all the things around that. So that's a big part of why we do what we do. Sorry, we've lost you, Ivy.
Yeah, I was on mute. We have another person who has joined us from Houston, Kadara woman tuning in from Houston, but I rep Niger flag. Welcome, nice. Welcome all Africans. Fred says, that's a big goal, but I'm rooting for you and I look forward to celebrating with you when you achieve the goal. Thanks, Ivy and Sydney. Thank you so much for watching and for your comments. And so, all right. So basically, this platform is for business people who want to connect with African talent. They'll use you as a mediator to help them find good quality African talent.
Yes.
Why should people care about African talent? Like, why should people care? Just a general question, something people might be thinking about.
That's a very important question, to be honest. So to be honest, we have a huge history of not recognizing the value that we have, right? If we go back to colonial times, we didn't really value, or some people may say that we didn't value the resources that we had at the time, whereas other people have been able to see the potential of the things that we take for granted in certain cases. Now, where the world is, especially because Africa is the youngest working population, or is going to become the youngest working population, where I think by 2050, 1 in 4 people in the world will be African. All eyes are turning to African talent. And if we don't start to think about how this is curated, it will be exploited. It's just generally the way things are going to be done, right? And exploitation of humans, our people, our human resource, is something we don't want to repeat in history. So that's the first thing that I will just say. The first thing is, it's bloody important for us to all just think about this and the future of talent on the continent. However, India had its boom. China had its boom. I mean, countries like the Philippines and Ukraine have also had their boom in terms of outsourcing talent, because it is very expensive, especially in the global West, to be able to access human resources. And not to say African talent is supposed to be cheap or more affordable, but the world is always looking for the next place where it can leverage competitively the resources that it needs. So Apple, creating chips and things like that in China. You can see a lot of these things. So the need for affordable, highly skilled, highly hungry, and when I say hungry, I don't mean in a negative sense, but in the sense of that kind of motivation to get things done, Africa is the last frontier, especially in the UK, where a lot of the government is complaining about how there are a lot of jobs that British people do not want to take up. So there's a huge gap in the talent space in the UK that they're anticipating that is going to get much worse in 10 years. And it's not just about, most people are thinking brain drain is the way to go. Let's have more immigrants, but we don't need people to move to the UK or move to the US to offer services. They can stay in Africa, develop our economies, have our money stay on the continent, but still power the world's business market in relation to that. So that's why I think it's really important for us to think about that. But also African youth, have you seen what's happening on the music scene and the fashion scene and the way our culture is really dominating globally? Talent is the next space where Africa takes up space. And I really think we should really think about that and leverage that moving forward. So that's what I would say regarding that.
Okay, we have a great comment here from Kadar Woman. She says, yes, we need to champion our own talent. I made the intentional decision to build my media podcast company with African talent. It has its challenges, but very worthwhile endeavor. Now, thinking about her comment, would she be a business person that could connect with Workspace Global to source talent?
Perfectly so. So we work with both African businesses, African business owners, diaspora business owners, and global business owners as well, right? And to be honest, we don't only focus on business owners, we also focus on marketers and agencies and nonprofits. So anyone who needs creative talent in any way can leverage this platform. It's like everyone can use Netflix, everyone can use Workspace. That's generally the idea. So yeah.
We have Kobe Agbeka. Kobe says, joining in from Ghana, happy to be here and connect with a mentor, Sydney Sam. I think Kobe was trying to join the stream with us because I saw him in the waiting room, and I wasn't sure if he was part of the team and wanted to be speaking as part of the team.
Yeah,
But
Ivy, please
we see that he's here, which is great.
yeah. Cool.
And then we had Kadar Woman says again, God has done it. I'm dancing here. And oh, fun fact, I'm a marketer in my day job, so I am here for this. Really
Amazing.
appreciate your support. Thank you so much. Olivia, hey, hi, Olivia. Olivia Siadunto says, this is such a timely conversation. I'm a big fan of Workspace Global and Sid. Now, what we need is a radical collaboration to pull our resources together. Most definitely. Thanks for joining in. And Enoff before says, hey, Sydney, is Kobe from More Cribs. We met at Tech in Ghana, a brilliant space to seek good talent, and I'm sure we can work together. Awesome. Thanks for joining, Kobe. So, yeah, so we're talking about this platform. Now, people may want to know what it looks like. This might be a good time for us to take a look at what the platform looks like and how people would actually use it. But before we do that, I want to just get a quick question into you on what you see are some of the advantages of partnering with Workspace Global, because what's to stop someone from saying, I'm going to go to, because we know about some of these other pages that people use, other platforms people use to source talent, but they wouldn't know if they're getting African talent. So if they went to, like, was it Upworthy, Fiverr, those kinds of pages, what makes yours a better choice?
Right.
What's the advantage?
Cool. So just to educate our audience on how the spaces work. So there are traditional agencies, which we all know are companies that charge you $1,000, $2,000 a month regarding whatever you need. There are freelancers, which are independent people where you don't necessarily know where to find. If you're lucky, somebody would recommend them to you. Then there are freelance marketplaces. Now, what happens on freelance marketplaces like Upwork and Fiverr are the fact that these are platforms that just put the talent on there and then put you, the business person, on there, but you are still in charge of finding the person, negotiating with them, pricing wise, like all of that stuff. And there are risks or gaps regarding that. What if, even if the person is great the first time, if you wanted to use them again, would they be available? What if the person has gone for a funeral? Like there are things like that. And you don't want, especially with building a brand or with marketing, we know that you need to stay consistent, right? You want the kind of work that you're doing to have continuity. So you don't want to be jumping from one freelancer to another. And then also, it's really important for you to focus on running your business. That's something that a lot of people need to think about, where if you are supposed to be getting customers, you editing your PowerPoint slides and things like that it's a bit of a challenge, right? So you need to really change the way that you work regarding that. So the features of working with Workspace, sorry guys, the features of working with Workspace are quite simple. So the first thing is you get to work with a project manager. So even though you have access to unlimited talent, we have hundreds and hundreds of talents that you can leverage on a subscription. You just work with one simple project manager, and that's your one contact person that deals with everything in the background. So you don't have to worry about things like that. The subscription idea, and that's something that probably Ivy is going to ask about later, is the idea that you can just click a button. Within 15 minutes, a team can start working on your work. Think about it, right? Let's just say you just walked out of a conference and you realized you needed a website. That evening, when you're sitting on your, in your bathroom, just reflecting on that contract, you just click a button and you just answer a few questions and a team will start working on your website within 15 to 30 minutes, obviously given the time of the day. But think about how much you can do regarding that. You can go to business meetings more confidently, especially if you're an agency. Now you can say, oh, I have a big team of 50 people, whereas you could be a lone ranger because you know that you can subscribe to this thing and start getting business done. We deliver everything, well, not everything, but most of the things we deliver are within 3 days, right? So if you have a deck, it would be delivered in 3 days. If you require maybe some flyers or some things for your trade show, they would be delivered within the three day mark or less. So you can imagine how fast that is. Because we have unlimited talent, you can work on multiple things at the same time, which is really, really cool. Yeah, and you can pause and cancel at any time. So there are no long-term contracts. If you don't need it, you turn it off. Also, it's a full boutique of things. So you can get designers, web developers, writers, social media managers, video editors, all of that in one space without having to go look. And we will handle quality control for you. So you don't have to worry about typos or if things are politically correct and things like that. So you can imagine like the amount of ease that this brings to your business, right? It really changes the way that you get things done. So these are just some of the features, and it's all online. So, and very transparent, right? You don't have to wait for a proposal or wait for an invoice. You know what you're paying for, you know exactly what you're getting. So yeah.
Thank you so much for explaining that. I want to quickly go to the comment section because we have people who are joining. We have Kofi Azuma who says, "Hi there, beautiful Queen Ivy. Greetings to you and your guests here today." Thank you, Kofi. Appreciate you for joining. We have Mr. Michael Leach who says, "Proud of you both. Keep going." Thank you so much, Michael. I appreciate your support. Kedara Woman says, "Is Workspace Global all African talent based on the continent or also African talent in the diaspora and the continent?"
It's biased to talent on the continent for now, because we want to tackle the issue on the continent first, and then we can open that up. But we are opening up collaborations with people in the diaspora as well. So there is opportunity there.
Okay. So people in the diaspora can use your platform to hire African talent to work with their companies.
Exactly. Yeah. It's only that
Okay.
the talent we hire is usually based on the continent, just to be able to create opportunity for multiple people. So yeah.
And how do you choose your talent? What is the process that you use to vet talent, to make sure that you find people who are quality, who can actually get the job done at, international standards? What is it that you look for in candidates, and how do you choose them?
It's a very difficult process. That is actually, I think that is what we spent 2 years in R&D trying to figure out, because it's
2 years of research.
Yeah, well, research development, because it's not just about, we knew the answer, but to be able to automate processes so that if we had 1,000 clients after this, let's just say this webinar that we're doing was so successful that 1,000 people wanted to sign up next week, right? We would need to be able to activate that amount of talent within, basically a few minutes, right? So to be able to predict that, infuse AI into that, index talent, find talent in different countries, see what works according to time zones, people's access to internet. It's a lot of metrics that we need to go through to be able to have a ready talent pool. But the funny thing about it is also, how do you create a system that ensures the talent is always busy? Because when you're not busy and you have a cool down period, when you need them in a month or two, they're not going to be available because, they probably moved on, right? So it's a very careful balance to be able to ensure that we always have ready talent. But let me talk about how the hiring process works. So we completely threw away CVs. We don't even use CVs.
You don't use CVs or AKA resumes. You don't use them at all.
We don't use them at all. I mean, they're nice to know. It's like demographic data to us, right? Like, you're telling us how old you are, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to do the work. So we start off with portfolios, but again, even portfolios we don't trust, because people come up with very amazing portfolios, and when you put them in the ringer, they completely let you down, right? So we start off with portfolios, and then we primarily focus on 3 key things. So there are mindset simulations, there are project simulations, and then there are pressure simulations, right? So the mindset simulation is the idea that, and I say this cautiously in public, as much as we work with creative talent, because we need a certain level of quality, we do cap the level of creative freedom that the talent have, because we have internal creative directors, and we're using AI to be able to amplify that so that we can support the talent to always deliver at global standards. So the talent doesn't get up and say, this is the logo I want to do for the client. They follow a very specific list of instructions that we're able to create using our system and our AI, but also with our cultural nuance and intelligence to give very specific instructions so people can deliver. Now, not a lot of talent want to work like that. So that's why we check for that mindset piece where are they humble? Are they willing to comply with instructions? Are they reliable? There's a number of things that we need in certain psychometric tests. And then we do the project simulation, which is show us that you can do this, right? So they go through a number of steps even before they get access to their first project. So there's those number of steps. We do record this, well, not record their screens, but with their permission, they work within a space where we can physically monitor the stuff that they're going to do because of some of the platforms that we need. So we can track to see how fast is this person working? Are they efficient? Things like that. And then we move them into the waiting list or the kind of like a holding space where we focus on training. So they have to attend master classes, they get access to resources, they have to take certain courses before they get their first shot at getting paid. So it does take a little bit of time and it's a very rigorous process. Obviously, a large percentage of talent drop off, which is something that we're trying to work on. So we're partnering. We have a few. We're having conversations with brands like Generation, ALX, Mest Africa to see if they can help accelerate the training element of the talent as well, because we don't yet do all the training, but we need more talent very quickly, right? So these are things that we have to do to be able to ensure that our talent pool is healthy and at a certain quality. And even when the talent is earning money, it does take relationship management. So we have something called a talent success management team, which will set goals with each of the talent. How much money do you want to make every month or every week? These are the things we need to do. This is the number of tasks you need to accept. This is the rate you should be delivering. These are the courses we want you to take. So they're very supported to win. So once you get in, there are talent on our platform that are saving up to buy land, right? They have full-time jobs, but this is what they do at night and on weekends. And they're making more money than me. So just to let you know, like how it's going for some of the talent when they get in. So it's quite hard to get in, but when they do get in, it's quite amazing. So yeah.
Thank you. I want to welcome everybody who may be joining, because I know some people are joining midway through this live stream. If you are just joining, my name is Ivy Prosper, and I am talking to Sydney Sam, who's the co-founder of Workspace Global, which is a platform that is focused on hiring African talent. And we're just going through the way that they actually find talent, the way they vet talent, and then talking about the platform itself and how it connects businesses to the right talent in order to get some of the work they need, remote work that they need to get done, things that are in the tech space, in the creative spaces, to help people get more efficiency using the talent from the continent of Africa. So I appreciate you for joining, whether you're on LinkedIn, you're on YouTube, or you're on Facebook. Thank you for taking the time out to join us today. You can always find more information on his website, which is workspaceglobal.com. If you're not able to stay with us through the whole live stream, it will be up for you to watch on replay. And don't forget to put your comments and your questions in the comment section, and we'll do our best to respond to everyone who is here. I appreciate you all. And so the next comment is from Kadara Woman, says she has a second question. What does Workspace Global do to vet talent on your platform? And I think you just answered that right now about vetting of talent, correct?
Yes, that's what we do. Yeah.
And let me go to Olivia's comment. Says competition is healthy, but as Sid said, in 10 years' time, we will have the youngest population globally, and the rest of the world will be an aged population. Who will be running competitors' business? Very good point. And then Kadara says, my name is Lola. I just realized why you're calling me Kadara Woman. Podcast name. Yes, I'm calling you Kadara Woman because that's your name on the it pops up. So everybody, whatever your handle is on your YouTube or your LinkedIn or your Facebook, that's what the name that I use. So I didn't know your name was Lola. Thank you for letting us know that. And Fred says, yes, let's keep the money on the continent. Totally love it.
Yep.
Kofi says, can we get everyone to click on the like button and subscribe and donate to this channel? Thank you so much, Kofi. I really appreciate you. All you here watching this live stream right now, call all your friends and family members and tell them the African Queen Ivy is live. Thank you. Jasmine, how do you ensure individuals' abilities?
In terms of the nuance, from one person to another.
And I think in terms of their ability to do a job, when you bring a person on board, a talent.
Right. So I mean, we did mention that we do a number of simulations. So that firstly, they opt for a route. So they opt for a design route, for example. And then based on that, we would then say, okay, what kind of designer are you, or what kind of designer do you want to be? Do you want to be a brand designer or a marketing designer, an advertising designer, whatever that is? And on the basis of that, that is how your project simulation is going to be designed. So we can see, so you have to do work to prove to us that you can do the work. And also we have a very interesting system on how we pay the talent, which I can divulge on this call. So our talents are paid on a task basis that is accumulated and then paid out at the end of the month. So the interesting thing is, whereas most platforms will assign talents to work on projects, there is a risk working on projects because there's confidentiality issues. There are different things that if you've given your work to somebody in Rwanda that you've never seen before, you need to be able to ensure that this is going to be successful. So we have gone for the taskification of projects so that we can work with different talents, we can be faster, we can have more scale. But the beautiful thing is that the talent have to deliver tasks, and if you haven't delivered a task or it's not delivered satisfactorily, you do not earn money to be paid out at the end of the month, right? So that is also how we're able to manage our risk. So if there's a talent that is just not performing by a specific threshold, and there's a counter. So as soon as you're assigned a task, we give you a counter for 24 hours to be able to deliver. If you don't meet a certain, and because we can monitor your work, if you're not making progress at a certain pace, we can move it on to another talent. So that's how we're able to manage our risk. And if you do that a number of times along a number of tasks, we then realize you're not the kind of talent that we're looking for, and you would then be kicked out of the talent pool. So that's generally how we're able to manage projects. So yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting. So Cordy says, I agree. Sometimes CVs don't match talent hands. Talent hands in is always the best. Evelyn says, love this. We need to see what talent can do rather than a bunch of certificates. And then Cordy says, what platforms are you using to track the progress online while testing?
Wow. Okay. Cordy wants me to open up some of these things, but I will just give you some of the basic ones. I can't divulge all our tech, but for example, we've partnered with, or we're working in a partnership with Figma that allows when talent are working on a project, there are these collaboration elements that we have, so we can see their screens regarding that. So some of these creative tools have those benefits, even simple platforms like Google Slides or Canva, because some of our clients do want us to work in platforms that they can edit afterwards, right? So we are able to just select those specific platforms, and then we can see how the work progresses ethically, obviously, with the talent's consent and with the client's consent. So yeah.
We have another comment here from Brownie Bliss, which is, I didn't know about the extent of services you offer. Sounds amazing. I'm curious, how do you keep client data and project info secure, especially with multiple teams working on a project?
That's a very big issue, and to be honest, it's still a work in progress. So what we have done is, firstly, we do have non-disclosure agreements with, like, the legal framework is very strong, and we also ensure that we have access to IDs and things that we can use to track talent just in case anybody decides to go rogue. However, there's certain bits of sensitive information that don't go outside our core team. So we can have the talent build the framework, but if information is specifically sensitive, we will then move that into an in-house creative team. So the talent might build the code or build the website or the frameworks, and then we will fit in that information based on its sensitivity. So we do manage that at different levels just to ensure that, especially GDPR compliance, a lot of different things, especially also there's certain countries that we don't send sensitive data to. We will give them the framework to work, and then they send us back, and then we put that in. So that's how we're able to manage that for now. If we are too rigorous on that, it would cut out a lot of talent. So we've had to kind of balance that out based on that sensitivity. But it is a work in progress, especially as we are building our own platforms for the talent. So that way we can have consented access to their computers, where then certain information cannot leave certain servers before they go there. But that is a work in progress. So, in a probably a couple months, we should have that ready to be able to go. Yeah.
Okay.
Good question.
I want to jump in on your platform. Like, let's see what it looks like.
It's actually a very simple platform. So most of us here have used a website before. We don't have our app ready, so everything that will happen is primarily through the website that kicks off. So I'm going to share my screen to show you what the website is. So everything starts from the website. I'm hoping you can see my screen, and you can see here, as soon as you get in, it tells you to explore a plan. So before you go in, you need to identify what you need, which will then get you to pick a plan that works. If you don't know what plan works for you, you can immediately go to the book column at the top right of the screen, and you can book a free call with an advisor who will help walk you through what your business needs, etc., and then help you pick a plan. But similar to Netflix, you can either go for a basic plan, pro plan, or whatever. So you then go pick your objective. I want to create my brand. I want to build my website. I want to power my marketing. I want one design task, or I want to develop my app, right? So right when you go, the platform is designed to just meet you right there with your need. I mean, you can scroll down for more information to see the brands that we've worked with, like the World Bank and Johnny Walker, different features, different services, etc. And then how it works, just showing you sign on and pick a plan in seconds, you fill a few questions, and also in just a few minutes, and then you move into your project management space on the basis of that, right? And it just tells you what kind of businesses that we work with: startups, SMBs, agencies, nonprofits, and things like that, right? So it's very, very simple. But let's go into picking a plan. I usually go for the Power My Marketing plan because it's quite a versatile plan that I would recommend, and is the most popular one. So it takes you to this page that has all our plans on one page, right? So when you get here, it says find your perfect plan, your dream team awaits, and you can see at the bottom of your screen it would automatically take you to whatever plan you prefer. So Power My Marketing, this focuses more on design, social media, copywriting support, etc. If you are in Ghana, the prices will be in Ghana cities. If you're in the US or in the UK or somewhere else in the world, it would be in dollars, right? And so that generally comes off as just refreshing my page really quickly. So sorry. So yeah, anyway, we'll just work with the Ghana city price for now, but this is on average about $300, and or $300, $500, and then about $1,000 based on that plan. Now you can see it says 2 work streams, or 1 work stream, or 1 track, or 3 tracks, right? And what that means is, under the $300 plan or the 4,700 CE plan, you can make 1 request at a time. So the beautiful thing is, once you start the plan, It connects you to a team immediately, and then you can make requests over and over and over again. So that's generally the idea, like if they're working in your office. So under the basic plan, which is the $300 plan or the 4,700 CD plan, you make one request at a time. And what that does is that it gives you up to about 8 deliverables a month, right? So what tends to happen is you would make a request, the team will turn it around within 3 days, and then you can then move on to making your next request, okay? The beautiful thing about our platform is that you can revise until happy. So we're very particular to ensure that our customers never leave the platform unhappy. So you can revise until you're happy. You can make simple graphic design and writing requests. And you can see, you can access editable files on all plans. We do not hoard information. We do not hoard your files. If we've created it for you, you own it and you can edit it as you go, because we believe in empowering businesses. So you don't have to need us forever. You can start to empower people on your team to use things that we have made as well. So very simply, this would look like this. You go into like a Paystack link or Stripe link for secure payments. We're very particular about making sure that our customers always have that kind of security. Once you make payment, that would be a rolling payment. So every month that would be, you can either pick for 1 month plan or a rolling payment, depending on you. Then right after payment, you will then come to a very simple experience that just asks you about what is your preferred vision of your look and feel. This is very important. Now, in some cases, you might have your brand guidelines. If you're a big company, for example, you have your brand already set out. So you just have to upload your brand guidelines and that's it. Like once you're done, that just takes a few seconds and you're good. So you can see, do you have existing brand guidelines? Yes. Once you click yes, you just upload that and you're done. So the team will then study what your brand guidelines and your brand specifics are, so that anything you request will be done exactly as your brand guidelines require. Now, for some of us who are just kicking off our businesses, we may not have existing brand guidelines. So you would tick no. And what that would then go like, how would you like your brand to come across? I want it to be fun and energetic or luxurious, whatever that is. Once you click on that, it will then give you some samples of what your brand could feel like, right? So it makes it very easy for you to communicate, ooh, I like it to look like Louis Vuitton or whatever that is, right? So you just pick one of these. It will go on to ask you color schemes and things like that. It would go on to ask you about fonts or just reconfirming your brand name and things like that, right? So within just a few minutes, you would have given us all that information, fill your details, give us your contact information, and that's it. You're done, okay? Now, once this is done, it then takes you to your dashboard. So this is the actual platform experience where you can chat with your team here, you can make requests here, and you can stop your subscription or upgrade your subscription from here. And we will upload all your files here. So it's very easy. We will store your files for you so that you don't have to worry about where to find information that we have submitted. Things you have also submitted to us, like let's say you have a specific document, will also be here as well. So it's all nice in one place. And then you can chat with your team like on WhatsApp, right? So, hey guys, I'm ready to kick off the next project. Just really simple. And your project manager will respond to you usually within a few minutes. You can make requests here. Just saying, hey guys, I would like to create a logo, and usually we have given you or we will ask you specific questions if we do not have enough information. So that's it. It's very simple on how that works. We can see your subscription as well and when it ends, so you also know when to make payments. But that's about it. It's a very, very simple experience. You can access this from payment to this place within less than 7 minutes, right? So it's a very simple experience to be able to go with it. So I'll stop here because I'm sure I've gotten very technical, but we can go on moving forward. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing all of that information about the platform. We have some comments here. Before I read this comment, I just want to, again, say what we are doing here today, because I know that there's people who are joining who may not have heard us from the very beginning. I am here with my guest, Sydney Sam, who is the co-founder of Workspace Global, and they are an organization that is very much into hiring African talent. They provide the resources for businesses to be able to hire African talent who work remotely in areas of tech, in the creative spaces, doing things like web design, graphic design, video editing, whatever it may be that you need done remotely. They can provide the perfect talent for you from the continent of Africa. So we're talking about Workspace Global and what they can do for your business today. And just going to go to the comment section. Kadara Woman says, I see pricing in cities and on some of the options. By the way, this was the one design task. Does this mean the option is only available for that market, non-US? Because I believe she is, she's Lola. Sorry, Lola. She is in the US. So she's seeing the city price pop up.
Oh, so then that might be a bit of a glitch, but then you would get US prices for the US market and Ghana city prices for the Ghana city market. For the Ghanaian market fundamentally, because we do have a large amount of customers from Ghana, and that's why. But most of our systems are based in dollars. We are building and integrating pricing for the UK, for the euro, etc., etc. So that would come on, but fundamentally everybody just needs to pay us in dollars because that's just kind of the easiest way to go, right? So that's generally it. The reason we were particular about Ghana cities is so that people could pay us by mobile money. That option isn't really available on Stripe, so that's why we created a separate space for Ghanaians, and then we will do one also for Kenya and Nigeria as well, moving forward, and South Africa as well. So yeah.
Okay. Cordy Aziz Nash says, what is your drop-off rate of talent?
Ooh. Cody wants to know all the juice. So our talent, we're usually able to retain talent active for about 6 months. And usually the drop off is not because of a negative experience. It's usually because they may have committed to a larger contract, or there's a significant life event, like a child, somebody's giving birth to a child or moving countries. So that's usually what happens, because when our talent comes in, because it's flexible, they don't really have to leave. They just have to inform us to let us know that, hey, we will not be available to take on work for about a month. And that's just generally how that works, because we do need them to receive work to be able to stay active. So once they give notice, it should be all good. So generally, we don't lose that many talent because they are making money. But when we do, it's usually for a major life event, or they've gotten a very big contract because they've gotten their skills, and so they have to move on. So that's what happens. Yeah.
Okay. Alexander Bohene says, Sydney, great job.
Appreciate you, Alex.
And then we have Jose Long, who says, Ivy, keep on showing the world that Africa is operating in the 21st century. The motherland is hot, and I'm not talking about weather. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you. Brownie Biz says, looks simple to use. You mentioned incorporating AI to make delivery efficient. With that crazy advancement of AI, are you concerned about clients choosing ChatGPT, for example, over Workspace?
It's not a concern. It is a strategic element that we have to consider. So primarily we're playing in the outsourcing space. So we realize that if a customer wants to do work themselves, there's not much we can do to convince them to do that, right? We're specifically focused on people who want to outsource, right? So which is they're running a business, they want to focus on business development or product development, and they want to outsource that marketing piece. That is our customer. But we are infusing AI to help with rapid copywriting, to help customers be able to bring out their thoughts for very complex things. So for example, not many customers are technically skilled at explaining what they want in an app. And we found that is a big issue. And we can't sit on a 2-hour workshop with every single customer, especially if, we have 50 customers coming in for a website, right? So we're building an AI that can help the customer extract that information by asking them simple questions, showing them pictures and things like that. So these are the little things that we're using AI for. We're using AI also for the talent matching. So, for example, 20 people come in, one person is in Singapore, one person is in the US. We need to be able to match the right talent who's available right now with the right skill set within the right time zone, right? we use an AI to be able to do that kind of matching at scale, so that we don't have to manually do that. So these are some of the ways we're using AI to just innovate our work, especially to scale our quality control. It's very difficult to read through every single website we build, but we do it because we don't allow our team to submit work if it has not been reviewed. But the more the business is growing, that becomes a bit of an issue. So we're training AIs to be able to check for grammatical errors, political correctness, using the right imagery, creative excellence, like margins and things like that. So those are some of the ways that we're using AI to just innovate and help scale our work. So yeah.
Is there a way to see past work product from actual team people that will be assigned to me or my company? So basically, if somebody comes on your platform and requests a talent for certain things, do they get an opportunity to see how that talent has worked before with others?
So the bit about that, sorry, there's a little bit of noise in the background. So the way we manage that is you are working with Workspace, and we reserve the right to switch the talent that is assigned to your project. So that is why we would give you access to the Workspace portfolio of all the teams and all the different people that have done that work, because we handle the creative direction internally and we handle the quality control internally. So we take that on as our work, even though we work with that kind of talent. There are companies that are looking to hire our talent away from us, which is not a problem. It's a product that we are yet to launch because we want to ensure that if you are taking your talent away and want to pay their salaries and their taxes and stuff like that, there's a certain way that can work very easily. But for now, we take on that burden from you, so you don't have to worry about who is doing your work. You just worry about the overall portfolio of the platform. Right now, there are cases where one talent or a bunch of talent have been working in a specific project for a very long time, and so in some cases we do allow the talent to meet the client, just because it's just really nice for them to feel appreciated, and in cases like that. So you can build relationships with specific talent over time, but we don't do that in the early days because we also need to be absolutely sure of your working style. We want to test a number of different talents to make sure that they're perfectly suited to your work, and just so that you don't have to worry about it. If you want to worry about it, that's something we are willing to collaborate with you on, but the idea is to make your life as easy as possible. So that's how Workspace works. Yeah.
And the next question, and does the client get to correspond with the team over the phone, or is it only WhatsApp chats?
So it's only chat, and you do get opportunity to book 15-minute calls. So you can't just pick up the phone and call, otherwise we would not get any work done. So you have a link that you can book a call to meet with your project manager specifically. So that's just generally how that works. We do cap how many times you can do that, because some people might take advantage of just want to speak to us every day. And we view those conversations as strategic advisory time, right? And please, you need to bear with us. We have over 100 customers at any point in time. So if we're calling every single person every time, it might be a bit difficult. That's why we would give you a link to book a call, usually within 24 hours or on the same day. We do have options for voice notes as well. So our customer success team is very hands-on. So you would always have somebody to speak to, especially on different time zones, like US time zones as well. So there's always somebody to speak to regarding that. So you never have to worry about that, especially because we're a remote company. If we didn't have that, people would not trust us. So we're very particular about making sure that you always have customer support whenever you need. So yeah.
And she says, "Thank you for taking my questions. You are most welcome. That's what we're here for, to make sure that your questions get answered." So, okay, we've been talking all about this. And so now, given everything that everybody's learned today, what we've been talking about, I want to know if you have any special offers for our audience today, people who've tuned in with us. We've been here for about an hour now. I'm sure that there's probably people eager to test out your services. Is there anything that you're offering for people today?
I know Ivy's sounding very humble, but Ivy and I have actually negotiated on an offer. So everyone on this call gets access to $100 free trial on our platform. So you can go to our platform. At the top right version of your screen, you would see try for free. Now, this is not open to everyone, right? Because we have found that some people have been using this free trial to run the entire marketing operations. And so we do give this access only to verified partners, and Ivy is one of our verified partners. So there's a code. I just want to confirm with the team what the code is. I believe it is, I think it's Ivy Prosper 25. I will confirm that. But if you're on this, I'll just let my team drop that in the chat and email everyone whose email that we have to give you access to that. And you can just move on and try this for 1 week for free. It gives you a number of services like a pitch deck, a company brochure, or social media templates. It allows you to go through the entire platform, trust it, understand how valuable it is. Obviously, the point is not for you to just come in and go away. We want you to be a customer, right? So please go through this, appreciate us, support us, and do subscribe later down the line. And that's just generally what we're looking at. So it's our way of investing in your investment. If you are trying to raise money or launching your marketing, this is a free service for you. But we're also hoping that we get to work with you as time goes on. So Ivy, thank you so much for the opportunity regarding that. I'm wondering if we would get to answer the question on the hacks. But I'll leave that to you.
Yeah, we can get there. We can get there. But I just know that, we've been on for an hour, and sometimes when people are on live streams, sometimes after an hour, we want to make sure that people got a chance to, to know what they can do with trying out the service. But yeah, I do want to ask the question about, the things that people should look out for, because one of the things that the diaspora, when people start to do business in Ghana, or in other African countries, and they're trying to find talent, I know it's challenging for them, and they don't know what to look for. Sometimes there are cultural nuances when it comes to hiring that they're not aware of. What are some of the hacks that they should look out for when they're looking for, talent?
It's a big one. It's a big one, especially because a lot of us come into, well, it depends whether you are running your business outside Africa and you're hiring African talent, which means you're working remotely, or you're building a business in Africa. There are quite a lot of things that you need to think about. The first thing is a lot of us are considering hiring without business systems. And I know that's a little ambiguous, but I really advise you to take some time to do the work yourself and see what it takes to be able to do that predictably. So you create a little bit of a workflow, and that way when you hire someone, you know exactly how to do that. Now, what tends to happen is that people will bring their knowledge from their McKinsey or their JP Morgan to try and apply that in an African market, in an African context. It doesn't really work that way. So I do encourage that you try to do business in the market, learn about that, and then create a system that does that. Because what I have found is that African talent work very well in robust systems. And that is something that a lot of people have spoken about with the diaspora. Ghanaians, Nigerians, Kenyans around the world are some of the best staff in the NHS and in amazing companies around the world. And everyone is like, but everybody says Africans are lazy and this and that and that. But for some reason, when you take an African and you put them in a robust system where they know exactly what to do, they're able to thrive, right? So I think there is an issue with the ambiguity of the way you're running your business, where people have to figure out what to do on a day-to-day basis, and it's not predictable, and that's when you can't get the best out of that. So that's something that I would really like folks to think about. I think it's really important for folks to think about also the cultural nuance, in the sense that in terms of responsibilities, a lot of our African talents are carrying a lot more than they look like. There is this issue of black tax, where you have to I'm not even talking about sending money home from abroad, but like basically, you know, a university student who's just come out of school still has to take care of their parents and things like that, right? And so these are things that you have to consider when hiring someone. If you might think being remote is very advanced, right? But putting that person, a great staff, in a remote circumstance where they live in a space where they still have to cook. Like once they're home, their families don't necessarily recognize them as at work, right? And so they have to cook, they have to clean in the middle of your task or in the middle of your meetings and things like that. And those are things that you may have to have conversations regarding, and say, hey, do we need to book you a co-working space even though we're working remotely? Things like that, right? So I do really want people to think about that cultural nuance as well. You know, a lot of people are focused on security. So it's funny. I thought bonuses worked for African talent. They're not big motivators, right? You can tell somebody, hey, I want you to be a salesperson and I'll give you a commission of 30%. And they don't care, right? You know, because in certain markets, security is more important than making a lot of money. They would rather earn, you know, $300 a month every month for a year than the potential of earning $5,000 if they did a certain amount of work. So you have to also check to see how you're motivating your people, because what might motivate somebody in the US or in Germany may not necessarily motivate the same people, you know, in Africa. So that's something to think about. There are a lot, but Ivy, can I go ahead? You know, in terms of some of these, I have a long list, but yeah, I'll pause here and just probably just get some. I should go ahead. Okay,
You
sweet.
can go ahead.
Cool. So yeah, so we've talked about the cultural nuances in terms of the responsibilities of African talent. We've talked about motivation for African talent, where some people prefer consistency over big bonuses, for example. We've talked about ambiguity, that a lot of African talent do not thrive in ambiguous systems. They actually prefer rigid, robust systems because it gives them the safety and predictability to do well. There are certain cases of exposure where I found that African talent is very good with technical hard skills, but with soft skills regarding you know, email etiquette and things like that, it requires exposure. So it's not that African talent is bad at soft skills, but think about it. If somebody is working from a small town and has been able to come to university and has been working in a technical skill for 2-3 years, they're not going to know how to craft a complex proposal to submit to, you know, a bid, right? Like, or things like that, or jump into a meeting and speak to a client, you know, just like that. That does not happen easily. And the challenge is that if you focus only on work experience to hire people, you're only going to be hiring very expensive people, because before people get to that global standard, they usually have worked for 6 to 8 years in the game in a specific role to really understand the nuances of how to take a client meeting, how to think critically in specific circumstances, etc., right? So I do recommend that you hire for mindset and hire for technical skills, and stretch your onboarding to include the soft skills piece by actually exposing them to specific use cases, right? Because they're not going to know until they have been exposed. And you might go like, oh my God, this is very basic, you know, but it's not something you can take for granted, right? You have to put people in those circumstances, because you will give up a lot of great talent just because you were too, I don't want to use the word, you didn't want to put in the time to get them to a certain level. Now, I'm not saying waste your time on anyone, because there are people who, that in certain cultures, like especially in Ghana, where people do say yes before they can deliver. So, and that's just, it's just a cultural thing. I don't think people are malicious. It's just that, you know, if in a family setting, if somebody asks you if you can carry a bucket of water or go to the market, you say yes before, and then you go and sit in your room to process if you actually can, right? So you do have the case where you will get people consenting to things that they don't necessarily have the skills for, and it's not because they're frauds, right? It's just the way the culture works. So I do really want to encourage you to not use what people say, but put people in simulations, actual projects that are low risk, so you can actually see what they can do before you progress them to giving them the full role or giving them the full job. I have so many other things that I want to add regarding people's management styles. People, it's funny, when you're a very tough boss, you will get exactly what you need from the African talent and nothing more, right? So you're not going to get innovation, you're not going to get, because it's like we let me not say they, we sometimes just move into a space where it's like, I'm just going to do what the boss asked me to do, and then that's about it. Whereas when you provide ownership, which is, okay, you've come in for some time and I can assign this outcome, not this job description, which is make calls every day, but an outcome, which is deliver 50 calls by the end of the month. And I want to trust you to get that done. I will speak to you once a week to figure out how you're doing that, record your calls and things like that. You then get more. So you need to move more into an ownership outcome-based relationship versus a day-to-day management. Hey, what did you do? Send me an update, send me a screenshot. Like, that kind of working will get you what you've asked for, but nothing more than what you need. So yeah, there's a lot. I mean, Ivy, maybe we need to consider, a second session just on, I have about 12 points, regarding.
Oh, that's a lot. That could take us another hour.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So I don't want to jump through that, but I would really invite everyone to connect with me on my LinkedIn, Sydney Scott Sam. I'm happy to share these things for free. I can come in to consult with you. I can come in to coach you regarding these things, but also I just recommend work with a platform that makes your life easier. That's why Workspace Global exists. So yeah. Thank you.
Jasmine asked how you deal with Wi-Fi limitations.
You can't really deal with it in the sense where if the talent doesn't have access to internet and they live in a space that they cannot move from, that talent doesn't have the tools they need to deliver on the job. And if you're not willing to invest in rent, which I do not recommend you do, because that is a boundary that I do not encourage people to cross. I mean, if you have a whole system regarding that, it's fine. But I do think in hiring someone, and it sounds unfair, but the tools they have to work are part of what they need. And sometimes you can buy them a modem or a router, but in that area where they live or where they're coming from, there is a proper Wi-Fi problem. So that talent is just not fit to do the job at this time. So that's just one thing that I would say. For Workspace, we have a whole plan. We have a whole thing that we do regarding that, but I'm just giving you that comment just as somebody who's hiring remote talent on your own. So yeah.
And then this one was, does Workspace provide training for their talent?
We do, but we don't assume we can train the scale of our talent, the talent we need, because again, we're working towards 25,000 talent in 5 years, right? We're building our learning management systems right now. Hopefully we would launch that next year, where we can pre-train talent and then get them in. But currently our focus on training is on talent that are already in our talent pool. Regarding that, so they're the golden children, for now. But we will invest in training people before they join our talent pool. We're just not doing that right now. Yeah.
And we have this comment from Alexander Bohene says, great conversation. I disagree with the notion that we are lazy. We just didn't have enough opportunities, but that is changing. The future of the African youth is bright. Thank you for this initiative, Sydney. And thank you for your comment, Alexander.
Yeah, just to clarify, I didn't say we were lazy. I said people do have that notion. But yeah, you're right.
Piggybacking off Jasmine's question, the poor infrastructure in some countries with inconsistent electricity, that could be a challenge.
A huge challenge.
I think all Africans say yes and then think later.
Yes.
Yes, bless them. I think that is definitely going to be a barrier to entry. Thanks again for your response.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been a really great session. We've been on for an hour and 15 minutes. And you've really given some really solid information on what Workspace Global does, how they can help you as a business when you
Mm,
are looking for talent.
mm,
As was mentioned, everybody on this live stream gets an opportunity to get a free service
yep.
when you use my code. You said you had the code ready.
Prosper 25. Prosper 25. That's the code. So you go
The code
to
is Prosper25.
yes,
So when they go onto the Workspace Global site,
top
which is
right corner.
workspaceglobal.com, when you go onto the website, they would have a coupon code.
Yes. So you go to the
And
top right corner of the screen, which says try for free, right? You click on that and then you put in your email or you say I have a code and then you click on that and you put in the code and it will give you access to the platform from there. Yeah.
so the code is Prosper25.
Yes, Prosper 25, all caps. Yeah.
All caps. So let me just redo that again. Prosper25, all caps.
Yeah.
All caps. So this is your code to get your free trial service on Workspace Global. So the website is workspaceglobal.com. And when you go to try the service for free for the free trial, make sure you put in your code, which is Prosper25, to get your trial to see if you like the service. And then when you like the service, then you would subscribe to the service. So this gives you an opportunity to test it out, and then make your decision. So thank you so much. I really appreciate all of you for being here today in this
Awesome.
very important conversation about hiring African talent and taking advantage of an opportunity to use a platform like Workspace Global that has gone through the process of vetting the talent, finding the right people, finding those who have the abilities to service the needs of your business and help you scale up your business. And then know that you're helping solve some of the challenges on the continent for freelance workers, for in the unemployment space, because there is unemployment. There are people looking for opportunities who have the skills. We have graduates from universities and colleges, people who have, hands-on experience doing the work, but they're not getting the opportunities. And this is one way that you can support the continent in giving people opportunity to do some of this work. So I do appreciate all of you for having been here today. It's been a really, really great conversation. Just going to go through the last few comments. Fiona Wilberforce says, great insights. I really appreciate you being here, Fiona. Thank you so much. We have Halima, who says, great conversation. Thank you, Sydney and Ivy. Great conversation. Thank you so much, Lola, for being here throughout this live stream today. Evelyn says, so very true on the simulation front. Jasmine, thank you both for your time. Hoping for the best for you, Sydney. Jasmine, living in Ghana via London, currently on holiday, visiting family. Thank you so much. And then Kofi Ivy, my young brother Kevin Taylor says, oh, he's on another live stream. Kofi has gone to another live stream. Thanks a lot, Ivy and Sydney. Really appreciate you, Fred, for joining this live stream. I thank you so much. This has been a really, really great conversation.
Awesome.
Once again, just to wrap up before we close, website is workspaceglobal.com. Sydney Sam is the co-founder. And when you go on there, you can get your discount for a short free trial using my code Prosper25. I really appreciate all of you for joining this live stream. This has been a really engaging conversation. And as Evelyn's saying, work smart, not hard. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. If you are watching this now and you know somebody who may have wanted to watch this and couldn't join us live, please do share the link with them, because it will still be available for a replay for them to watch. And I'll put Sydney Sam's LinkedIn link in the comments in the description for those of you who are watching after and may want to reach out to him, so that you can get more information as well. So my name is Ivy Prosper, and I tell stories from Africa and the African diaspora. I appreciate you all being here, and Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe to my channel for continued stories from the continent as well as the diaspora. And I have memberships on my channel as well. If you want to become a member where you get some perks, join up for the memberships on my channel. And don't forget to hit the like and to share this video and subscribe, as I said earlier. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.